Question of the day. What game would you like to see get a director's cut makeover, as it were? And what do I mean by this? Well, think about it. Superman 2, right? The Richard Donner cut comes out. It's totally different than the Superman 2 that hit theaters, right? It's got a lot of elements of 1 and 2 put together and mixed and all sort of things like that. The director's cut of Watchmen is a much better movie, more watchable movie. It's usually something that maybe the director felt like they left on the editing floor, etc. Now, that brings me to the very opposite of what we're talking about today, which is Scythe, the modular board. And the reason I brought up director's cut, and then I said the word opposite, is because I feel like there was a point at some point in the past where Jamie said, I didn't want to do a board that you could mess with just because of the whole things with river walks and everything being balanced and where it is. Which brings us to the very interesting conundrum of taking a look at the Scythe modular board. It is in fact a board that you can customize, you can edit with restrictions and with limits and continue furthering your Scythe game. Typically, we always talk about how much we love Scythe on this channel. Will that change today with the modular board? Let's take a look and find out right now. First, let's take a look at the theatrical release. This is the game, the board that came with the game, Kickstarter, retail edition, whatever. So you have the mines surrounding the middle, you have the factory here, you have a few lakes scattered and tattered around the place. The starting places are on the board permanently, and that's about it. There are, obviously the places are where they are. You start up there for a reason because of your river walks and all sorts of things like that. You start where you start for a reason. Now let's take a look at the updated map right now. First thing to note, these spaces are just empty swaths of land that take these tiles. Now, a few rules about these. They are two-sided, but when you put them out on the board, they do in fact have to be oriented vertically the correct way. They can't be twisted around like this. Also, you have to make sure that you don't have a lake adjacent to your home base. You put these out on the board. Now, if it's a two-player game and you want to make a couple adjustments, or three-player game, you can actually leave some of these off, forcing the game to be a little bit tighter and forcing combat in some of those smaller player count games. Once you put these out, there are some new tiles for in-game scoring that are nice that you can do that have to do with different buildings and sort of things like that. There's a few of them right here actually. Some of the new ones are, for instance, here's the one right here. It has to do with putting your buildings in that kind of honeycomb shape, surrounding a single lake with your buildings, having your buildings do some different things like that, right? So there are other new tiles like that that go with this expansion, but the main bulk of the game is in fact this deal here. It is a modular board. Now the thing is, these can be flipped around. Obviously they can go different directions. This won't work because this can't have a lake adjacent to it, the starter tile, so we could put it over here and potentially switch this one around. So there's not as many options as it first may seem, just because of the few rules that are there. And again, that's done for balance because Scythe is in fact all about balance. This is one side of the board. Notice how many lakes there are. It's just a ton of lakes. Let's flip this over and see the other side of the board. It is slightly different than this side of the board, I believe. Yes, in the resources available and things like that. So it's slightly different. I think there may be even a fewer lakes and such. But the one thing of note, gone are the days of the giant board. If you're a fan of the giant board like me, if you're doing the modular board, you're only on this size board, only the small size. So this is the modular board. Again, that won't even work because you're not allowed to have that next to a home base. If there's not a home base there, no big deal. But there are a few rules in there. So that's all that comes with it. So I'm not messing up when I say this, but these are the different combos. You have these 4 tiles here that you can put out on these 4 sections, front or back of the map, and then these could be in different places with the few placement rules. Let's take a look at final thoughts on the space on the modular board right now. So that's it. The modular board doesn't come with a ton of new stuff, neither does it purport to come with a ton of stuff. It comes with the modular board. The front and the back are a little bit different. A lot of lakes, right? You get the tiles that you lay out there, and they have to be oriented the right way. So yes, there's a lot of variety, but there's not a ton of variety in the sense, what I should say is not infinite variety, but there's still a lot of variety. When you play this, it's going to change every time you play this game. which brings the obvious question, is that a good thing? Well, let's break down that for a second. Originally, Jamie, I remember, had said that he didn't want to do this modular board thing originally because it was a balanced game as is, where everybody starts is balanced with their Riverwalks, with their powers, and all sort of that. So when you get into this situation where you start messing with the boards and changing the areas, changing the locations, it does tweak the game and make it more difficult to play. This is not the beginner version of Scythe. This is not the intermediate version of Scythe. This is the game for people who love Scythe so much, they've played it so much on the basic map, played through the campaign, they've played through everything else, that they want to continue tweaking their game, and this one will finally do it ad nauseum infinitum almost. You can almost customize it so many times that you're going to play so many different combinations that it's going to change enough to where you will get your fill of new Scythe as you play this. However, if you just like Scythe as it is, don't worry about playing it with this, because the main board to me is still a little bit better because of those balance things that we talk about. Now, that being said, is this a skip? Absolutely not. If you like Scythe, heck, if you really just moderately like Scythe, you should never skip anything with it because the game is that good. It is nice to have those new bonus tiles at the end. For instance, one of the ones we've played is where you have to have the diamond shapes for your buildings. Just those little things are nice to have, right? As well as a changing board, which will challenge you in your game. So that is Scythe, the modular board. Take it as you will, whether it be you need to rush out and get it, or whether you just hold off a little bit. It is a cool product. It's a great tweak on an existing game that is so fantastic and wonderful in the first place. It's Carla's top game of all time. Spoiler. But take that as you will. Go check out the Scythe modular board. Play around with it, mix it around, mix it up, all that sort of stuff. And let me know your favorite or least favorite combinations down here below. What happened in your games playing with this modular board. I'm Brian Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, etc. at Dice Tower Brian. And until next time, we'll see ya.
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching the Dice Tower.